show, guys. I'm Damon. So Saturday was my 30th birthday. I turned 30. Yeah. And turning 30, I feel like you start to notice things. You start to notice some things in your parents a little bit differently, and your friends and your family. And at the birthday dinner, my dad said to me, shook my hands, happy birthday, happy 30th, mate. My mum went, oh, it's our 30th wedding anniversary coming up. Hang on. So I started to notice something I didn't notice as a kid. And it's pretty clear that, when you're a kid, you look at your parents and you think, oh, they're staying together because they love each other and they're soulmates. My old man just doesn't like frangers. If my mum was 10% better at gobbies, I wouldn't be here. If Durex had better advertising in the 90s, if they had invented that rib skin feel technology a little bit earlier, I'd still be in his nuts. It was clearly a shotgun wedding. They clearly stayed together because mum was pregnant. But it's kind of a nice feeling, it's a bit of silver lining. I feel good to knowing that the reason they stayed together, that I was the reason their dreams died. They're boomers. They're the reasons that our dreams died. They set the ocean on fire, the economy's fucked, they've bought all the houses, and they're living way too long now. At least in the 1900s, they weren't living that long. I mean, they built the Titanic a bit bigger back then, but... Too soon? Sorry guys, I'm under a bit of pressure, like the guys in the subway. But it was clearly a shotgun wedding. They were getting married and my German grandpa behind them, shh. And it's ironic because if my dad just did a bit more of this, he wouldn't have had to stick with my crazy mum. My mum's side of the family is German, and my birthday was on Saturday, but it was also the 50th anniversary of my family coming from Germany to Australia. And I'm a little bit annoyed at them, they kind of got all the attention, so I'm going to make a bit of fun about the Germans. Stealing my birthday attention, it's not the worst thing the Germans have done. I don't have to say it, we all know the worst thing the Germans have done, I don't have to say it, but I will. For those of you that don't know your history, the worst things the Germans ever did in the war, the worst thing they ever did was, they didn't get all of them. But my grandma's got these stories. They flew over 50 years ago, they landed, and she would tell me, Damon, I remember Hitler, I remember the marches, Damon, I remember the book burnings. But I never asked, how well do you remember the book burnings? How well do you remember them? I never asked her that. I'm starting to realise things as I get older. And this is a rough one. Never asked her about, how well she remembered the book burnings and stuff. And I can't ask her now. She's burning in hell. She's cooking alive down there. It's hot as an oven. Might be calmer. But my grandma always, I start to notice things when I'm an adult now. My grandma always used to talk about really thick, heavy accent, and she'd talk about going on runs with my younger brother and doing 100 meters with my brother. And my younger brother's name's Aaron, and she'd always be banging on about the Aryan race, good Aryan race. I didn't know what she kept wanting to go for a run with my brother. It really confused me. But on Saturday it was the 50th anniversary, so I'm starting to notice these things. I wanted to pay a bit more attention to the Germans, to see if there's any more red flags. And one of my uncles has a very heavy accent, the other one speaks pretty good English. He understands pronunciation and grammar and stuff. And one of my uncles ordered a big schnitzel and he ordered a schooner of orange juice. The waitress came over, gave him the schnitzel, gave him a pint of orange juice, and he looked at it with disgust and he went, "Less juice!" And my other uncle turned to him and shook his head and said, "Fewer juice." And he turned back to him and said, "Don't call me Fuhrer in public, Hans." Starting to notice a few things. And that wasn't enough information. I wasn't too sure if that's enough to go on. So I made sure I went outside. Everyone was leaving, getting to their cars. BMWs, of course, They got the gold for it. But some of them were waiting in the taxi bay and they were getting a lift, and sure enough, taxi came around and they didn't want it was really dark, they didn't want to miss it. So the taxi came around, they all went, "Taxi!" And the Germans hailed a taxi a little bit differently. And I feel like these stories that I heard as a kid, we escaped the war. Did you escape the war crimes? What did you escape from, And when they landed in South Australia, 50 years ago, 9 kids in tow, under 600 bucks in their pocket, you know, grew up really poor, they're really hard working and stuff. And usually when I tell people that, they always respond with, oh, you think you grew up poor, you think you grew up poor. I grew up poor, I grew up in the ghetto, I grew up in the hood. Mate, I grew up in the hood. But you know, I love my German family to death. They're wonderful, and I wouldn't ever want to upset them. You know, I wouldn't want to make them cross or angry or upset. You really don't want to cross my German family. You do not want to cross my German family, because if you cross them, they'll come to your front lawn and cross you. Thanks guys, that's all I got. I'm David.